Let's take a look at how to fill out an NFIRS run form on your fire bridge or your rescue bridge. Let's take a look at how to fill out an NFIRS run form on your fire bridge or your rescue bridge. We won't go through every option in the whole form in this video, but we will take a look at some of the tools that you can use and some of the trickier parts of the form. In this video, we'll be working with a fire incident from scratch rather than starting one from CAD. If you do start your incident forms from CAD, you might find that some of the information in the form that we're going over is already filled out for you. When you first get started with a new form, you'll see only the NFIRS basic information. More information will appear once you save this first tab, and the rest of the form is going to show up based on what you enter here. I'll show you an example of that in just a little bit. You'll see that most of the information here can be filled out with standard form fields that you're probably familiar with, such as drop-down menus or text boxes. There are a few unique tools on this first page that we'll look at though. For starters, notice the calendar icon beside the date field. Now you can always click in the date field and just type the date if you want to, but we do find that most people like to click on that calendar icon and select the date if they do need to change it. This does pop up in a separate browser window, so if you don't see it right away, you might want to look around to make sure that it didn't pop up behind another screen. Scroll lists like this one are pretty common, but you might not know that if you hold the Control key down on your keyboard while you click, you can select multiple options. Now, let's move on to the incident location section. There are a few tools here that might or might not be available to you depending on what your agency has set up, and we'll go over several of them. For starters, notice the lookup button here. If your agency tracks locations and occupants, you can click one of these names to automatically fill in a lot of location information. This particular system is set up for selecting addresses instead of typing them in. If your system is set up differently, you should see the fields available for editing, like I do when I choose to override the selection options. In this case, you can type in the address details until you get to the city, county, and state information. Here you have several different options. You might be able to select this information from a favorite location record, which will automatically fill it in for you. Or if the right location isn't in the drop-down menu, you could also enter the postal code and click Update Now, and you'll see the information populate in those fields. Finally, if the wrong information pops up in these fields, for example if there are two cities in the same zip code and the wrong one gets filled in, you can click the lookup icon to search for the right information. One of the last data entry tools that we'll look at on this page are the quick entry tools for fields that have a lot of possible values. Here we're going to be looking at the incident type, and there are a couple of options for you to quickly look up the correct one. If you know which option you're looking for, you can click the autocomplete icon and start typing. You'll see a list of options pop up that match what you're typing, and you can quickly select one. If you don't, you can click the lookup icon to browse for the right option. You'll see these two icons in quite a few places throughout the form, and you can use them pretty much the same way everywhere. Use autocomplete to start typing and select the correct answer, or click lookup to browse through the full list. Now we're going to skip down a little further. First, notice that there's a checkbox that needs to be selected if you'll be filling out the apparatus and personnel module. We'll be looking at that later, so I'll keep it checked now. Now as you can see, there's quite a few more details that need to be filled out, but since you don't need to watch me do it, we'll just jump ahead. And now this page is filled out and ready to save. Notice that there are two save buttons. The first one saves your changes and stays on the NFIRS Basic tab. The Save and Continue option saves this tab and jumps to the next required tab in the form, which will show up now once you save. Now that you've saved, your incident form is officially begun in the system. Notice first of all that quite a few more tabs have appeared. Which tabs appear is based on what information you filled out before saving. So for example, if this call was only an EMS assist with no fire-related actions, the Fire tab wouldn't show up at all. If we hadn't selected that checkbox for the Apparatus and Personnel module, we wouldn't see the Apparatus and Personnel tab. Next, notice the colors here. The Basic tab is red because I left a few required fields blank when I saved. The middle tabs are blue because we haven't opened them yet, so even if there are some required fields, the system won't flag them